My interviewee today is Richard Kraemer. He's the author of Dyslexic Dick about his life with dyslexia. When did you get inspired to write your book?
Well, it actually goes back a couple of years ago. I had just gotten laid off from my job, and previous to that, I was a real estate agent for almost 10 years. So the market crashed. I went back to work as a manager, and then I got laid off. And then you start thinking to yourself, when you get my age, you start going like this, going, what am I going to do next with my life?
Yeah. So
I started to go back and actually step back into my life, and then re-examine, about my life and how my life evolved. And that's where, it came up with this, with my story. So I started writing my story. And after I was done with my first book, I totally realized that because I learned that I was dyslexic when I was in my mid-40s, that had a great impact on my path in life, So that's how I got inspired to do that.
Did you ever suspect that you might be dyslexic, or that there was something a little different about you?
Oh yeah, I definitely knew when I was a lot younger. What happened was that my parents found out when I was 13 years old, and they had me psychologically evaluated back in the 70s, or actually back in the 60s, and they found out about it. But they're back then. You couldn't get accommodations for dyslexia unless, you had money to send children to school. I had like 5 kids at home on a 1 paycheck. So, my parents, they had this, they only had one alternative, and that was to streamline my education, and they decided not to tell me about it. That was one of those things where after my psychological evaluation, I asked my parents to go, what are the results? And then they go like this. They go, well, you're okay. You're checked out fine. Just try harder in school, and it'll be all right.
See, that's the one thing that if you're a parent, you shouldn't do. You should, just accept it and get the help that they need. When did you really start to take action for your life?
Well, actually, what happened was that I kind of knew that my parents were holding back on the true results, and that my interpretation of their silence or "you'll be okay" was more like, "Oh my God, I'm stupid," So I led my life thinking that the reason why I've had all these difficulties in school was unable to actually, keep up with anybody else. So I went through that kind of life at the beginning.
Did you ever have trouble making any type of friends or social life?
Oh yeah, I was definitely. I had a problem with friends or keeping friends. I was always in the earlier days. I was keeping friends with younger kids. So I was more an older than the rest of them, a loner kind of, childhood.
And what about, what was the most difficult class for you?
The most difficult was English. English was terrible every time. And this goes way back in like the 4th and 5th grade, getting me to stand up and read aloud parables was, agonizing. And, the torment of not able to actually read at a grade level way back. And it had a profound effect on me.
Do you remember when you were kind of pulled aside and one of the teachers called your mom or your parents and said, "I think there's something wrong with this guy"?
Yeah. There was a certain time where they really caught up to me. I would say in junior high school, because that's where my rebellious end of it came up when, and actually I was always failing, and they were pushing me forward in grades. So yeah, they definitely noticed it, and I didn't write about it in this book, and I didn't even write it in my second book, but because it's True Adventures of My World, Dyslexic True Adventures of My World, is the my first half of my life up to 17, and then my Marine Corps life. After, my second book is about my Marine Corps life, and that's the Marine Corps' truly uncommon experience.
And I was just going to ask, what was that like being for you, being in the military with dyslexia?
Well, to tell you the truth, it was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It was difficult at the very beginning because you have a short-term memory loss, and there's several things that you have to memorize by heart, word for word.
Yeah.
And also the left and right coordination, being dyslexic, or that left and right confusion of being dyslexic, was very hard for marching in drills that you had to learn to do that. But I learned to overcome all of these things.
Yeah.
So I learned to overcome them because I spent a lot more time in boot camp, almost 3 times the amount of time that normally we would be in boot camp for.
And if you don't mind me asking, I guess something a little personal, how did you meet your special lady friend?
Well, the funny thing is that you could look all over the world and meet all sorts of women.
Yeah. But
I actually found my wife. She was first friends with with a friend of mine,
mm-hmm.
one of my friends, and that wasn't working out. Mm-hmm. And I was a little hesitant about starting something because friends are supposed to be friends, and they're not supposed to be picking women up on the rebound. But it was clearly that this relationship was not going well. So I met her in my own hometown in Greenwood Lake, New York, back then, and we totally fell in love with each other, and we eloped to Texas because you only have a few dollars in your pocket, and I think we knew each other about 3 months, and we jumped on a bus and we went to Galveston, Texas, to look for work on an oil rig in the late 70s.
All right, Richard. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the great advocacy that you're doing. It really takes a lot of work.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you again, and I hope we speak soon.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.